Hello everyone, this is Deepika Patel and welcome to the school quiz class. So from today we will discuss the structure of the plant or the structure of the flower. Okay, so what is the topic we are studying? We are studying the sexual reproduction. Okay. And in the previous class we have studied some topics like gymnosperm. So what is the gymnosperm? Which have the seeds. Okay, and means which have directly the seeds. And what is the angiosperm? Angiosperm are those plants which are the flowering plants. Okay, these are the flowering plants. And we have also studied the bisexual bisexual plant and the unisexual plant. Okay, so what is the example of the bisexual plant and the unisexual plant? In bisexual, like hibiscus, okay, or mustard, okay, etc. And unisexual, like watermelon, okay, etc. So these are the bisexual and the unisexual. What is happening in the bisexual? In this, the male and the female both part, and it can be male or female parts only. Okay, and let's do the quickly the multiple choice question. The reproductive parts of the plant. The reproductive part of the plant is. So you have four options. Firstly, stem. Second, root. Third, leaves. And fourth, flower. Okay. So mark the right one. Yes. The answer is flower. Okay. So flower is the reproductive part of the plant. Why? Because they have the reproductive parts of the plant. That is the male part and the female part both. Okay. Reproductive parts. And so you can see, let's discuss the structure of the flower. Okay. So this is a flower. Okay. And from here the flower starts. This is a sepal. Okay, and this is a petals. This. Okay, so what does petal do? So petal do two works: protect protection and the attraction. Okay, so what does it protect from? So it protects the our reproduct reproduction parts of the flower. Okay, like the male part, which is the stamen, and the female part, which is the pistil. Okay, so it protects from the outer environment so that cannot be harmed and that it cannot be destroyed. That it protects from the outer environment. Okay, this reproductive parts. Okay, so it protects reproductive parts, or you can say, you can write directly the name: stamen and pistil. Okay, it means it protects it protects stamen and pistil from destroying. Okay, for destroying. Okay, and attracts. So it attracts insects. Okay, and in petals they have fragrance. Okay, so the insect attracts to the petals. So we will see in detail how it works. Okay, And next we have this structure. So this is, and this a line type. So this is a filament. This is called the filament, and this is called the anther. And together it is called the stamen. And what is stamen? Stamen is a male reproductive part. Okay, part. And you can see here the big oval type, which is called the ovary. Okay, and in the ovary you can see these are the dots. Okay, and this dots is called the ovule. Okay, so there are there are many ovules in the ovary, and it can be single also, or it can be multiple also. Okay, and in the ovule, there is female cell, female sex cell. Okay, sex cell, and this is called the ovum or egg, you can say. Okay, and ovum or egg. Okay, so in the ovary, this is called the ovary. In the ovary there is ovule, the small dot which you can see, this is called the ovule. And there can, in a flower there can be a single ovule or the multiple ovule also. Okay, and this is a female, and in the ovule there is a female sex cell. And in this sex cell, this sex cell, this female sex cell is called the ovum or the egg. Okay, so I hope you can understand this. And from the ovary there is this is the tube type line, which is called the style. Okay, which is called the style. And at the top there is a stigma, and the stigma is sticky. Okay, sticky. And the whole three parts, the ovary, the style, and the stigma, is called the pistil. And pistil is the female part. Okay, female reproductive parts of the plant, parts of the plant. Okay, so in a plant, what is, so in a plant there will be a filament. Okay, there will be anther, and together is called the stamen. Stamen is the male reproductive part. Okay, there will be a petal. Petal protects and attracts. Petal protects the stamen, and pistil protects the stamen and pistil, because they are the most important part of the plant. Okay, pistil, and it attracts the insect, attract the insect. So in the reproduction process, in, sorry, this is insect. In the reproduction process, the petal plays an important role. Okay, and the the second important part is the ovary, the style, and the stigma. At the top, the stigma is sticky, remember. Okay, and the whole three is called the pistil. Okay, pistil or, okay, pistil. Okay, and this is the female part, female part. Okay, so I hope you can understand this. So let's do the multiple choice question. Firstly, style, stigma, ovary is called pistil. Number one, you have pistil. Number two, you have petals. Okay, number three, you have sepal. And number four, you have stamen. So yes, the answer is pistil. Okay, because this is the female reproductive part. As same as goes, if the examiner asks the anther and the filament together, it is called the, so it is the stamen. Okay, and the male part is the stamen, and the female part is the pistil. Okay, so let's discuss the process now. So we have four type of process as we discussed in our previous video. The pollination. Next we have the fertilization. Okay. Second we have the formation of third we have the formation of seeds. Formation of seeds. Okay. And next we have the germination. Germination. Okay. So let's start from the pollination. So what is the pollination? See, in the pollination, we will study in the pollination. What is the pollination? Okay, we will study that, and types of pollination and how it happens. Okay, or you can say, okay, we will see. So what is pollination? So you know the stamen part of the flower. Okay, so in the stamen there is anther at the filament, anther and filament. Okay, filament. So like this type. Suppose this is an anther and this is the filament. So what is happening? In the anther there is a pollen grains. Okay, pollen grains. In the anther there is small pollen grains, and this pollen grains is transferred or moves into the stigma here. Move into the stigma. Okay, and you know the stigma is sticky. Okay, that's why the pollen grains stick into the stigma. Okay, and how these pollen grains transfer to the stigma, we will see like how it transfer to the stigma by the wind. Okay, the wind carries the pollen grains and transfer it to the stigma, or wind only blows the pollen grains. Okay, so when it flows in the air, so some pollen grains is stick to the stigma because the stigma is the sticky. Okay, and it is also done by the insect. So remember, the petals attracts insects. Okay, and you can see the bee when it landed to the flower and they suck some sugary parts of the flower and go away. Okay, so when the uh, insects attracts to the flower, so they can transfer so they transferred this some pollen grains into the stigma. Okay, so by the wind, by the insects. Okay, so they transfer to the stigma from the anther. So you see a flower. Okay, so you take a flower and just the anther part of the anther, just smash the anther part of the plant. Okay, anther part of the flower, sorry, anther part. So what will happen? Some yellow color is stick your finger, some yellow color appears to your finger, and this is yellow color is the anther of the plant, anther of the flower. This yellow color, it seems yellow. Okay, yellow in color. So take a let's take the example of the hibiscus. If you take a hibiscus flower, so the anther part of the flower, if you smash them, so it appears yellow in your finger. Okay, so this is the anther. Okay, so this is the pollen grains actually. So these pollen grains is transferred to the stigma. Okay, and what is happening after that? This stigma, or sorry, this pollen grains is like is tube like structure, and it goes to the ovary. Okay, it goes to the ovary. Okay, so what is the pollination? Pollination is a simple process, and from ovary, what is happening in the ovary, we will see in the fertilization part. Okay, fertilization part and fertilization part. And so what is the pollination? Pollination is simply the process where the pollen grains is transferred from the anther to the stigma. Okay. And what is the types of the pollination? The types of the pollination is the self pollination or the cross pollination. Cross pollination. So what is the self pollination? Self pollination means it is in the flower. Okay. Suppose this is a plant and this is a flower of this plant. Okay. So there is the pollination is happening to their anther to stigma. Okay. Stigma. And in the cross pollination, you have, let's take this plant. Okay. So in this plant, there is three flowers. Three flowers. Okay. And the cross pollination simply means when this anther, the pollen grains of this anther is transferred to the stigma of the another flower of the plant. Okay. You can say a different flowers of the same plant. It is happening in the different flowers of the same plant of the same plant, or it can be also happened in a different plant. Okay. Different flowers, sorry, different plants. Okay. So this is the cross pollination. Self pollination simply means a single flower in which the stigma and anther both present and they transfer the pollen grains into the stigma. Okay. So this is the self pollination, and the cross pollination means the pollen grains is transferred from the anther to the stigma of the different flowers or the different plant. Okay. So this is the self pollination and this is the cross pollination. So I hope this pollination process is clear for you. And what is the pollination? The pollination is simply a process where the anther, where the pollen grains from the anther is transferred to the stigma of the flower. Okay. So let's end this class here, and from the next class we will discuss the fertilization process and the formation of seed and the germination process. Okay. So let's end this class here, and this is all for today. Thank you for joining the class. Thank you again.